Okay, so we've just watched the video. We're back into our image map of today's lesson. So in the video, you should have picked up that the questioning of the church, this general idea of the Renaissance, the printing press, all these ideas spreading around has led to people looking at the Roman Catholic Church and really sort of challenging it. And one of the most famous people to do this, his name was Martin Luther. And he was a German monk. Now, he didn't want to leave the church. He just wanted it to be better. It's like all of the Bible and Jesus's teachings are saying things like, oh, you've got to do good works, not be greedy, and actually looking around at the Catholic Church with all this money, because remember they paid a percentage, 10% of what they were producing as the tithe. Some rich people would try to be buying their way into heaven by building monasteries and cathedrals and giving money. It's like, that doesn't sound right to me. It all sounds a bit secret, a bit clubby, a bit corrupt. So he wrote 95 theses, which he stuck on the door. So there's 95 points of sort of corruption where he's saying, well, let's change this so we can be better. So these are complaints and ideas, but mainly complaints about the corruption. The Pope disagrees, because essentially if they do what Martin Luther suggests, they're going to lose money, they're going to lose a bit of power, so they don't. So we have this Reformation. So if you reform something, it's to try and make it better. So that's the idea here, was that they were making it better, they weren't getting rid of it. What ends up happening is that the church splits into two. So the Catholic Church is now not the most powerful church in the Western world. So we have the Catholics and we have the Protestants. And the Protestants, well, there's lots of different names, but the Lutheran Church, the Calvinist Church, but it becomes known as the Protestant Church in England because they are protesting against the corruption, if that makes sense. Now, one of the reasons why religious people might want to go to the Protestant church is because it was a lot more simpler and it was a lot more about you and the Bible and God, rather than all the ceremony of the Catholic Church. The reason why kings might want the Protestant church in their country is because instead of the Pope being the head of the church and taking all that tax, that money, the tithes, the king becomes the head of the church. So the king is now the head of the church. Which Martin Luther's idea is really the king can then keep an eye, or the prince can keep an eye on what's going on, make sure there's no more corruption. And as I say, the kings might be very religious. I'm not saying they're not, but it's quite handy that they haven't got this mysterious or this other figure that's challenging their power. So they're not fighting with Rome and the Pope anymore. They're in control of everything. The other really good thing, so in Germany, he made it in German, but we get the Bible is written in English now. This is to stop any sort of, to stop corruption, really. If you don't understand the language that I'm reading to you in, so Latin, I could say blah, 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 blah. That's obviously not Latin. And then you could say, well, what does that mean? And I could say, that means that God wants you to give me £1 million. Now, if you can actually read what I'm saying, I can't lie to you. I'll be like, okay, you've got to pray twice a day. That's what it says. Read the Bible every day. That's what it says. I can't put my twist on it. The good benefit to this, especially in England, is because everyone had to go to church, listen to the Bible being read, people started to learn how to read. So the Renaissance, not only do we get these rich people learning more skills, but we start to see it trickle down a little bit. Not massively. I think only about 10% of people were reading at the towards the end of this period, because poor people still got to work hard and they haven't got time to read. But more people can read. That means there's more ideas happening. That means more people are thinking about it. So more technology, and we get this sort of cycle of progress in a way. So very quickly, let's recap what's happened. So we have the Renaissance. It means rebirth, technically, but actually it means this questioning and challenging of the authority that's going on. It starts in Italy because there's lots of warring states that got lots of money, including the Vatican City, which is where the Pope lives, the Roman Catholic Church, very posh. They've also got massive trading routes between them, which also gives them a lot of money. This gets them into competition with each other. One of the important things is the realistic art that happens, and this is going to change medicine. It changes like technology, changes all these kind of things. Maps. If you're going to explore the world, you need a detailed map. They now know how to do detailed maps. Another key invention is the printing press, which Gutenberg printing press 1436. This replaced the slow times with the monks, remembering that it took 3 years to make one Bible, and it meant that ideas are spread quicker and cheaper and outside the control of the church, or less censorship. This led to challenges to the king and the feudal system. They're still around for a while. It's not in England. We're not going to see it until the sort of like English Civil War. We get Parliament. But the Pope is going to face a big challenge at this part, partly because of all the death and destruction from the Black Death. We meet Martin Luther. He writes 95 theses where he complains about corruption, hoping to reform the Catholic Church and to keep it all together. That doesn't work. Instead, they split. There's going to be lots of wars of religion. And we get the Catholic Church is still around, but we get its big rival, the Protestant Church. The Protestant Church is useful for the king because they become the head, which means they're going to get a bit of the taxes. The Bible's in English, so people are learning to read. And again, I've put it up here. A lot of these ideas of people reading, the printing press, helped by Constantinople falling, being invaded, being conquered by this massive canon, the imperial, and the people behind it, because we had lots of old ideas and lots of new ideas came out. Okay, if we've got time, you can colour it in. Here's one I sort of made earlier. I went for some jewels, made it all look different, a bit of fire. If you've got colours and times, obviously my turtle is green. You can do that to make it a little bit more jolly. Okay,